Good morning. It is an absolute pleasure to be talking to all of you today. My name is Aaron Johnson, and I am a doctor of medicine at Sydney St Vincent's Hospital, undertaking the final stages of my training to become a geriatrician. For those of you who don't know what a geriatrician is, I am becoming an aged care specialist. I would like to talk with you today around my experience of learning being an ongoing journey rather than a destination. When I was asked to talk about this topic today, I actually had to think very hard. And I couldn't quite come up with the idea. For those who know me well, when I need to think with some clarity, I will go for a run. One thing I really like doing is going for long distance runs. So I sometimes run, say, 21 kilometers at a time. And I find that it's challenging, but there's a reward at the end of that run, and you want to do it all over again. Through the hours of these runs, you have time. You have time to think. And it was during one of my recent running events that I participated in that I came up with the idea for this talk. You see, that run and the challenges that I faced in that run are very similar to the challenges that I've faced in my journey throughout my career. They were both very comparable. You see, with a run, you train and you prepare, and you start the run with a plan. You start off with excitement. You have other runners around you, peers supporting you, people cheering you on. However, the run doesn't always go to plan. You start and you get a steep incline ahead of you. Then you have to find that energy and push yourself. Then you need to slow down. You need to pace yourself. Conserve some energy, take your time, take in your surroundings to really stay in the game. There are times when it can be overwhelming. You wonder if you're going to be able to keep on going, but you know that you cannot stop. You must keep going forward. Because when you finally get to the finish, you're excited. You have achieved something. You have achieved a milestone, and you know that the race really isn't over, because you plan to do it all over again. The same can be said for learning and how we apply our knowledge to pave our futures. If my journey is a long-distance run, then you are all sitting right on top of my start line in this very hall. I grew up in Campbelltown, and I graduated from this school in 2009. I must say it feels very surreal to be back here, because the last time I was on this stage, I was delivering the graduation speech as school captain. Everyone has asked me, has the school changed? And it seems like the exact same school to me, and I'm very glad to be back. Growing up, I always had the idea that I wanted to be a doctor, but it really wasn't until high school that I really committed to it. I knew that it would take a lot of hard work, and so I began my studies. What initially seemed like a pipe dream to others started to become a possibility when I began to excel in my high school studies. If my years studying at high school was my training, then the person holding the starting gun for the main event is sitting right at the back of this very hall. That was Miss Louise Clement. I still remember the day I was called to her office in year 11. It was very unexpected. I was sitting in class and somebody came to the classroom and asked me to come to her office. I walked in to the office and I found her and my mother in the room. It was quite a surprise. I definitely wasn't expecting to see my mum sitting in her office. Turns out I'd been offered a scholarship to study at Western Sydney University. I will never forget that day. It's a moment in my life that I was really given a boost at the very start of my learning journey. Despite all that, my first lesson in the world beyond school is that things don't always go to your plan, even when you've placed everything in the right spot. I completed my HSC, and I anxiously awaited my university offers with bated breath. Everybody assumed that I would sail into medical school. This is not the case. I was given an offer for a Bachelor of Advanced Science. I must admit, opening that offer was not what I expected, and it was something that I should have been proud of, but I felt like I had just come across my first unexpected incline. I still had the opportunity to gain acceptance into medicine. However, to move on to that next milestone, I needed to be in the top 5 of advanced science students to be offered that position again. It sounds simple enough, but I remember my first day at university, and one of the lecturers asked who was using advanced science purely to pave their way into medicine. Almost everyone put up their hand. It was a little nerve-wracking. And after that experience, I decided that I wanted to embrace science. So I considered completing advanced science. And I even thought about shifting my career pathway into a career of a scientific researcher. And because I really embraced myself, because I really immersed myself in that experience, my enjoyment of science meant that I naturally achieved the desired marks to be offered a position in medicine anyway. I was successful in my application to medicine this time round. My 5 years studying medicine at Western Sydney University was a time of substantial growth. Not only was I based at university, but all of a sudden, I was commencing placement in hospital. I was talking to patients for the first time. I was learning to assess them. I was conducting procedures I'd never done before, and I was taking part in ward work. It was a real eye-opening experience. It was a new frontier, and I really thrived with a new challenge. Throughout my studies, I was also presented with the opportunity to complete an honours project. I graduated with medicine from medicine with Honours Class 1. After graduation, I was finally a doctor, and it really felt like I had reached a point where there was no more running to do. How wrong I was. This was only a checkpoint in my journey so far. You see, the next stage of my journey was working as a junior doctor at Campbelltown Hospital. And this was a very exciting time again. However, I had been running so fast that it was at this point that I realized I really needed to slow down. I had just completed 6 years of full-time university studies and was now embarking on a full-time position. I was working night shifts, I was working long hours. I was enjoying it, but I needed to take time. The next step sounded simple enough. Simply, I was required to complete my 2 years of training as a junior doctor, and then move on to a specialist training program that I would continue for the rest of my career. Reading that as a sentence makes it sound easy, but to me, that was one of the most difficult decisions of my life. And once again, there was uncertainty ahead. For example, I could become a physician, say a cardiologist, a neurologist, gastroenterologist, or I could become a general practitioner or a paediatrician. The list really goes on. And the reality was, I had not thought that far ahead, and I was not ready to choose. At the end of residency, I took more time to make a decision, and instead of entering a specialty program that I was undecided upon, I decided to undertake another year of residency. Choosing to pace myself was one of the best decisions that I ever made. I successfully applied for a senior residency position at St Vincent's Hospital. And throughout this year of training, I gained exposure to various disciplines and began to realise that I really enjoyed my time working in internal medicine. That following year, I applied for the role of medical registrar, that is, an internal medicine doctor, and was successful. This role is probably one of the most challenging but most rewarding jobs in a hospital. At times, working in a hospital, you are the most senior doctor on the floor, but you are challenged, you have access to plenty of learning resources, and you are trained by your mentors and seniors firsthand to become a specialist. It also opened avenues to teach others in the hospital. Things seemed to be going smoothly again, until another twist in the road came: the COVID-19 pandemic. The experience of the COVID-19 pandemic as a healthcare worker is quite unique, because you have first-hand exposure to what's actually happening in the workplace that other people don't necessarily have. And I was dealing with new pressures that I hadn't anticipated. It was also particularly challenging because what was simply meant to be a straightforward training program, the COVID-19 pandemic uprooted our educational program, where we really needed to be in person with patients, learning firsthand from people. This all turned into Zoom talks and learning online. I really needed to look for that drive. And so I self-directed my learning to pass the basic physician exams, which is a significant milestone in the career of an aspiring physician. Again, I felt like I had finished. And now that my exams were completed, I could finally finish the final stages of my training. But I needed to choose my next path, and I decided upon aged care medicine. So the major decisions about my career have been made, but I have come to the realization, and the message that I want you to take away today is that a learning journey never really ends, and my journey still hasn't ended. At present, I have one more year of specialist training to complete. I still continue to learn from my seniors, my juniors, my colleagues, my patients, nurses, family, friends, their families and friends. The field of medicine that I've chosen is also rapidly developing. There will always be something new to discover. My journey is an example of many. Everyone in this room today will be running their own marathon. We are all at the starting line. Learning really is a marathon. It is not a sprint. It is fun. It can be challenging. But most of all, it is important to pace yourself and set achievable goals along the way so that you're working towards an even bigger goal. It is ongoing, and the possibilities are endless. School is really just the beginning to what is most definitely a lifelong journey. I want each one of you today to realize that this is your starting line. And no matter what you choose to do in life, you will always be learning. There is always something new to embrace. Embrace the expected, embrace the unexpected, embrace the challenges, embrace the perceived setbacks. They will all reward you in your journeys. Thank you very much.